Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take fascinating sources, cut through the noise, and really pull out the insights. Today, we're tackling a truly massive work, Neal Stephenson's Quicksilver.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It really is. And it's not just a standalone book, right? It's the first part, the foundation of his huge Baroque cycle trilogy. Sort of paints this incredible picture of a whole era.
Absolutely, a transformative era.
Exactly. And our source for this deep dive is a detailed review of Quicksilver. Came out back in 2003 when the book first hit the shelves. And when I say massive, maybe ambitious is the better word, I really mean it. Quicksilver is, well, it's definitely not a light beach read.
No, definitely not.
We're talking almost 1,000 pages. A sprawling story that just weaves together history, science, philosophy, politics, and even some swashbuckling adventure.
It's got everything.
It really does. And it's all set during that incredibly dynamic time, late 17th, early 18th centuries, the age of enlightenment.
The birth of the modern world in many ways.
Oh, pretty much. So our mission today, to figure out what makes this huge book so unique, why it snagged the Arthur C. Clarke Award, which is a big deal.
Huge deal, yeah.
And also why it's seen as, well, brilliant, but also really challenging, polarizing even.
It definitely divides readers.
So we're going to unpack not just what Stevenson did, but kind of how he pulled it off and why it still feels relevant,
Yeah.
Okay, so to really get Quicksilver, we first need to appreciate the setting, that historical canvas, late 17th, early 18th centuries, the Enlightenment. I mean, how does one writer even start to tackle an era that huge? So much was changing.
It's mind-boggling, honestly. And what's so interesting, what the review points out, is Stevenson's really bold approach. He's not just doing historical fiction, not at all. He's sort of blending it, like you said, with science fiction ideas, philosophical questions, adventure. It's this unique hybrid.
A real genre bender.
Totally. The review calls out the epic scope specifically. It's this massive tapestry, science, politics, adventure, philosophy, all woven together on a scale you just don't see very often.
It feels less like a story about history and more like history itself unfolding.
Exactly. It's like an intellectual journey through this period of, well, massive upheaval.
And you feel that ambition just looking at the book itself. 900, 940 pages, depending on the edition. That length isn't just padding, is it?
No, it's intentional.
It feels like it's showing you the sheer scale of the world he's building, the ideas he's exploring. Definitely not something you breeze through in a weekend.
Not even close. But here's the thing. Despite the size, the review praises it as well-researched history. Stevenson did his homework.
You can tell.
Yeah. He blends real historical figures, Isaac Newton, Gottfried Leibniz, their big calculus feud.
Right, legendary rivalry.
Totally. And European kings and queens, philosophers like Locke. He mixes them seamlessly with his own fictional characters.
And that creates this really immersive feeling.
Absolutely. The review calls it world building. It really transports you. You feel like you're there in plague-ridden London streets or the fancy courts at Versailles or these, academic clubs where they're debating everything.
So it's not just reading about the 17th century, it's like stepping into it.
Precisely. Every detail feels researched, feels authentic. It's an expedition into the era.
That sounds incredible. And the way he navigates this huge world is also really interesting. Structurally, right? He uses three main storylines, interwoven.
Yeah, that's a key choice.
It lets him show the Enlightenment from these really different perspectives, doesn't it? Different angles on the same world.
Exactly right. Each character is like a lens focusing on a different part of what's happening. So first up, you've got Daniel Waterhouse.
Okay.
He's a natural philosopher, what we'd call a scientist. He's part of the early Royal Society in London, trying to figure things out with experiment.
The cutting edge back then.
Totally. And he knows Newton and Leibniz, friends, rivals. It's complicated. His story really captures the birth of modern science. But it's not clean. It's messy, full of egos, religious doubt, political stuff. Daniel really embodies that tension between, faith and this new rational way of thinking.
The core conflict of the age, almost.
You could say that. He's right in the middle of it. Then you have Eliza. Her story is just wild.
Okay, tell me about her.
She starts as a former harem slave, escapes pirates, and somehow becomes this financial whiz, a political operator. Super connected, advising nobles, even kings.
Wow. That's quite a journey.
Isn't it? And her story dives deep into economics, into gender politics, what a woman could achieve in that world, and especially the power of information.
Knowledge is currency.
Exactly. That phrase is spot on. The review highlights how she uses coded messages, networks, secrets, basically information itself. as her tool, her weapon.
Yeah.
It shows how controlling information was already becoming a new kind of power, even back then.
Fascinating. Very relevant today, too.
Very. It feels almost prophetic. And then number 3, you need some balance, right, for all that intellectual stuff.
Yeah.
Enter Jack Shafto, the king of the vagabonds.
Uh-huh. Sounds like fun.
He is. He's this rogue, an adventurer, a total opportunist, a bit of a trickster. He brings the comic relief, the swashbuckling energy.
Keeps you from getting too heavy?
Absolutely. His story takes him all over Europe through wars, markets, getting tangled up in royal plots. He adds this really earthy, human, sometimes chaotic element. He's the guy on the ground surviving through all this massive change.
Okay, so you've got this serious philosopher type, this incredibly sharp financial operator, and a charismatic rogue. They sound like they belong in totally different books.
Right.
So how does Stevenson make it work? How do these wildly different threads actually come together into one single coherent story? Does it feel disjointed?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, that's where Stevenson's skill really shows. He doesn't just tell one story then the next, he weaves them.
How so?
The perspective shifts constantly. Sometimes within the same chapter, even mid-paragraph. You jump from Daniel puzzling over physics to Eliza navigating court politics to Jack escaping some scrape.
Okay, so constant movement.
Constant movement. And he threads huge historical events through all their stories. The Great Plague, the big European wars, the founding of banks, court scandals.
So the history connects them.
Yes, the history connects them, but also their paths literally cross sometimes in surprising ways. It shows how all these things, science, money, politics, individual lives, weren't separate. They were all tangled up together, all influencing each other, all part of this massive shift happening across Europe.
Ah, okay, so the shifting perspectives actually demonstrate the interconnectedness of the era.
Exactly. You see the same big forces playing out through these very different lives. It's like watching a really complex machine from 3 different crucial viewpoints.
That makes a lot more sense. So, okay, the characters are our guides, but what's the bigger picture here? What are the major themes Stevenson is digging into through these stories? What underlying ideas about the Enlightenment and maybe about us now is he exploring?
Yeah, if we kind of zoom out, connect it to the bigger picture, Stevenson is really mapping out the foundations of our modern world. He's showing us where so much of our current reality, our science, our economy, our politics actually came from.
Okay, like what specifically?
Well, first and foremost, the birth of modern science. We see it through Daniel, and especially that Newton-Leibniz fight over calculus. But the key insight isn't just that science happened, but how messy and human it was. It wasn't this clean march of progress. It was full of rivalry, faith, politics. It reminds you science is a human activity.
Right, not just equations. People.
Exactly. Brilliant people, but people nonetheless trying to figure out the universe in a totally new way. Then there's that theme we touched on with Eliza. Knowledge is currency.
Yeah, that one stuck with me.
It's central. Cryptography, codes, secret messages. They aren't just plot devices. They represent this emerging power of information itself. It's really striking how Stevenson shows that controlling information for spying, for playing the markets, for politics, was already reshaping power long before computers. Knowing things others didn't was literally valuable.
Like an early information age.
Sort of, yeah. In quill and code. Then, politics and economics. Stevenson really lays it all out. You get the complex dance of European courts, alliances, wars, but also the very beginnings of modern capitalism. Joint stock companies, banking, global trade.
The foundations of our financial systems.
Absolutely. He shows in detail how money and political power started intertwining in new, powerful ways, building the systems we still grapple with. And of course, the big one, religion versus reason. Daniel Waterhouse lives this conflict. He's deeply religious, but also committed to science and rational thought.
That internal struggle.
Exactly. And his struggle mirrors the huge societal shift happening, moving away from purely religious explanations towards observation and logic. A massive change in how people saw the world and their place in it. And finally, through Jack Shafto mostly, you get adventure and survival. His wild journey balances out the heavy ideas. It injects action, humor, and reminds you how dangerous and uncertain life was then.
The human element.
The visceral experience. It keeps the grand ideas grounded in lived reality. So yeah, Stevenson isn't just telling a story. He's explaining why this period mattered, how it all connects, how it literally built the world we know. It's history made alive and deeply relevant.
That's a massive achievement, just holding all those threads together. So let's talk about his writing style. How does he actually pull it off? How does he make this dense, Material science, philosophy, history, engaging over nearly 1,000 pages?
Well, the style itself is definitely part of the experience. It's described in the review as dense and richly detailed, and it is. Stevenson dives deep into everything. The mechanics of scientific experiments, how 17th century finance worked, the details of shipbuilding. You get a lot of information.
Sounds potentially overwhelming.
It could be, but, and this is key, he contrasts that density with this very playful and witty tone sometimes. He uses modern-sounding phrases, little jokes, bits of anachronistic humor.
Ah, okay, to keep it lively.
Exactly. It's deliberate. It keeps you on your toes, prevents the intellectual stuff from becoming totally dry. It's like he's acknowledging the distance, but also bridging it with humor, almost winking at the reader.
Yeah, I can see that. And it's not just straight prose either, right? I remember the review mentioning a multi-format approach, letters, dialogues.
Yeah, that's right. You get chunks that read like personal letters, sections written like stage plays, family trees, little footnotes. It adds to this feeling of digging through archives.
Makes it feel more authentic, more immersive, maybe.
I think so. It breaks up the text and contributes to that feeling of deep immersion in the period's different forms of communication. So the overall effect of the style, the density, the humor, the different formats is that it makes the book rewarding but challenging. That's the key phrase from the review. It's
Yeah.
more of an intellectual journey, it says, than a page-turner.
Yeah.
It demands your focus, your time. You have to be willing to engage with the ideas.
Okay, so rewarding but challenging. I get the rewarding part, the immersion, the ideas. But the challenging part, those same elements, the density, the digressions,
Yeah.
they could also be drawbacks for some readers, couldn't they? Did the review mention downsides?
Oh, absolutely. It acknowledges them directly. The things that make it brilliant are also what can make it tough going.
Like what?
Well, it can definitely feel overly long, and the pacing can be slow because Stevenson will digress into fascinating but maybe tangential details about science or history.
Rabbit holes.
Exactly. Interesting rabbit holes, but they slow down the main plot. And the heavy intellectualism can sometimes overshadow the characters' emotional lives.
Hard to connect with the characters sometimes.
Some readers find that, yeah, the review mentions Daniel Waterhouse can feel a bit passive, more of an observer. And some critics felt Eliza's story, while amazing, maybe leaned into a familiar trope of the hyper-competent woman. So yeah, it's a book that asks a lot, and not everyone finds the payoff worth the effort. Polarizing is the word.
Right. Brilliant but bloated, maybe. That's a phrase I've heard associated with it. It won the Arthur C. Clarke Award, which is huge, but it really seems to be one of those books you either absolutely love for its richness or abandon for its density.
That sums it up perfectly.
So the bottom line then, who should read Quicksilver? Who is this giant, complex, brilliant, but maybe bloated book actually for?
Okay, yeah, the ideal reader. It's probably someone who loves those really immersive grand historical epics. Think Hilary Mantel's Wolf Hall, maybe, or Umberto Eco's Name of the Rose. That level of detail and intellectual depth.
Okay, fans of big historical fiction.
Right. Also, if you've read and like Stevenson's other big book, Cryptonomicon, you'll find similarities here. The intricate plots, the blend of history and tech, or early science, the humor.
Makes sense.
And crucially, it's for readers genuinely fascinated by the ideas of the Enlightenment. Science, philosophy, the beginnings of modern economics and politics. If you want to understand how that world ticked, this book delivers.
So a curiosity about the history of ideas is key.
Absolutely. And finally, you need to be someone who doesn't mind a slower pace, someone who actually enjoys a deep, demanding intellectual adventure and is willing to put in the time. It's an investment. So the final verdict, according to our source, is pretty clear. Quicksilver is brilliant, challenging, and polarizing. It's not quite a normal novel. It's more like a literary experiment.
How so?
It's part adventure story, part science lecture, part philosophical dialogue, all mashed together. If you want a fast, plot-driven read, that probably isn't it. It might frustrate you. But if you are genuinely curious about how modern science, politics, and economics were born, if you love incredibly detailed world building, and if you're up for that intellectual marathon, then yes, the review concludes it's a masterpiece worth your time. It rewards that patience like few other books do.
And it got a strong rating, 4 out of 5 stars in the source review. That really seems to capture, it acknowledges the challenges, the density, the length, but ultimately celebrates the sheer ambition and the depth of insight. It tried to do something huge, and mostly it succeeded.
Yeah, it's formidable work, but a landmark one.
So there you have it, our deep dive into Neil Stephenson's Quicksilver, a book that really does try to bottle the lightning of the Enlightenment. It takes you right to the founding moments of our modern world, the science, the money, the ideas.
A massive undertaking.
Definitely challenging, like we said, but potentially incredibly rewarding if you're ready for that journey. It really can change how you see the history that led to, well, right now.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with, thinking about now. In our own time, we're drowning in information, right? Knowledge is everywhere, but also manipulated. Facts and beliefs seem constantly at war. So what can Quicksilver's exploration of knowledge as currency back then, and that deep tension it shows between reason and faith, tell us about the challenges we're facing today?
That's a great question.
Those struggles over information, power, belief, they didn't just end in the 18th century, did they? They've just changed shape.
A really powerful thought to chew on. Makes the book feel even more relevant. So if that sparks something in you, if that intellectual adventure through the birth of modernity sounds appealing, maybe Quicksilver is worth adding to your list. It's a big commitment, but potentially a profound one. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.